deepness of the March season. I believe it is March 29th at approximately 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the birds are whistling. Perhaps all of the lack of activity has perked their spirit, or just maybe it's springtime and the birds like to sing. Well, we're going to head out today on our adventure. We're going to be checking out some of the hospital rooms just from the road on the outside, just to get an idea of how many lights are on, so we can get an idea of occupancy. I don't know if you watched any of the videos yesterday by, I believe, Jason Goodman, a true, excellent, well-versed journalist walking around New York City, whom had seen that only one of the hospitals proclaimed on the news to create the hysteria was anything close to having any kind of busyness to them. All the other hospitals in New York City were under like regular normal rates of patients and visitors. So he did go to the one, I believe it was in Queens, and he talked to a few people, and they seemed like everything was kind of normal. A few more calls, naturally, when we have, across the world, and of course here nationally, a big cry about the con virus. That naturally people are going to pick up the phone when they don't feel good and say, I might have this thing. Our recommendation is not to go there unless you absolutely really feel like you need to, because I think that just fuels the hype and thus fuels them to be able to use a false justification to do what they've been doing, taking our rights away. We've lost more rights through this quasi-medical martial law than we ever did in 9/11. So I think if we continue to expose what's going on, giving people enough time to process the events, we'll be able to make a stance that will stick in the future as far as what we find acceptable and how we restructure society. We're talking about almost 15, it was like March 10th or 11th when they decided to cancel all the sporting events. That was pretty much D-Day. That was when everything, like, whoa, if they're doing that, everything's changing, for those that have been kind of following along. And then after some simple TV watching on their numbers only, I don't watch hardly any TV at all, probably a total of 10 minutes, just tap in every now and then, we see that the numbers weren't justifying their actions. But since that time, we've had, gosh, how many small and mid-sized businesses, large businesses being taken over by the feds, for the most part, told to be able to make this and make that, as if we're in some sort of wartime condition against what? Besides a fake virus. Because the virus lives inside the body. I think I've taken that stance now. That virology is a bogus study. Yet again, just another thing about our wonderful medical industry that was developed, probably, I think, by very elite, very wealthy people who wanted to transition from holistic all to allopathic, and that way they could sell a whole bunch of other drugs to people and then kind of keep them sick year in and year out. But notice some of the practices is about getting people onto a cycle that produces an income, which is fine to some degree. You get people, great pancakes down at the restaurant, and you make them really good. You get them on the cycle to come visit you once a week for the pancakes. When we're trying to carry that over to a justification of an okayness in regards to medicines that people get addicted to, not a good idea for a healthy modern society. Well, what we see now is an opportunity before us like no other, that if we take the right steps and we start using our noggins correctly, we'll be able to develop a complete new type of a country that does take those old ideas but actually have them match in what we say and what we do. So if we remove the hypocrisies, we have a far better chance of having the healthier, more steady, stable kind of a world. Hey, good morning there, sir. How are you? You, by any chance, going over to ProMedica?
Some of that research, Dr. Pincus,
mind if I maybe catch a ride with you? I see a coat on top of a car here.
That's the coat. He just said that.
He's just, oh, you're letting the air out? We got a little bit of rain. We have a huge increase in temperature. Let me jump in and grab some coffee real quick.
I put the coat on.
Well, we found out there's an oil
I
that
got
comes
like
out of the pine tree.
I have it like
Just rub it on there.
this is Derek reaction of the pee. My skin does. Put this yellow very
Well, I bet there are some uses. Let's look up 100 uses of pee.
Conditioning. It's probably got products in it that will kill an animal dead if you just sniffed it.
Peaceful symbol. Maybe we'll see some today
dove.
flying above the hospitals,
Like, you know, the dove
healing them,
representing the Holy
pulling them
Spirit.
out of their illness,
Did you always
induced by mankind's greed. I'm still in.
It's only one of the 7 deadly sins.
But you are willing to take a little trip up to the store? All right, let me get a coffee.
Can you give me a hot cup without cream?
Without cream, yes, sir. I can do that for you. All right, well, we're getting ready to run on out here. Now, keep in mind, things to watch to put the numbers in perspective. And still to this day, if you are along the lines of, oh, it's real, as far as giving any kind of credence to the level of reactions, that only, I think, maybe less than 30,000 worldwide, the flu, supposedly. Just stay sleeping there, T. Has only, what 10%, 300,000 have died worldwide by the flu, or maybe 150 to 200. So obviously these are things to think about, and that's the most obvious figure, number, data, is that this whole thing is being driven by something else. So how it all got here, who knows? A lot of different political factions. But what we do know is that there's a lot of things on the table that still need to be squared away. If we just let the same people take control, we're going to get probably not the good results in times like this. Because like before, when we were talking about the economy being shut down since March 10th or 11th, that's unrecoverable, folks. So they have to do something else with the economy. And that brings in how we want to structure. If we could avoid maybe getting into the excess arguments of communism, socialism, and capitalism, and just break down the major features of society, from the medical industry to our banking industry to our policing, legal system, how businesses operate and run. If we get the answers there by taking the major industries and then evaluating them of what we would like, then we'll avoid all the pitfalls that too often divide us. So that division, I think, by God's grace, had created a situation that we could all have some sense of unity in remaking the country. So obviously it's got to be set up where we have optimism and also a little bit of realism. The idea that the mass majority of the population can sit around and not produce or contribute doesn't seem to work. But we'll get into these things as we come along, and there's a lot of good that can still come forth. And right now I think there is a rumor about the Federal Reserve, which is a group of small private bankers, because now they know that people are not going to be able to pay their rents, mortgages, credit card bills, car payments, and so forth. There's so many businesses and so many individuals that have been put out that are a significant part of our economy, that this whole thing needs revamped. So let's try to have a good day. That's what I think the birds are saying, and we're going to head out here and we'll post a little video for you in the next few hours. Have a good one, and know that God loves you.